This video is sponsored by Echo D Super Baby Diaper and Wet Wipes made with bamboo.
My name is Naomi. I'm a mother of two. I have two beautiful girls, and I run Crystal Cupcakes, a new bakery that just started, and we're hoping to get as much customers as possible. We got married in December 2016, and then my husband wasn't really the one who wanted a child just immediately after marriage, so he wanted to wait a little while. But myself, being a woman, I love children so much, and just can't wait to have my own. We were trying, but it wasn't working out until 9 months after our wedding. I found out I was pregnant. I'd missed my period, and I didn't know what it felt like to actually miss your period. When I realized it was 5 days later, so I didn't tell my husband about it. I wanted to be very sure. I went to the hospital, and the doctor confirmed. The doctor confirmed that I was pregnant. I still kept the news to myself, and fortunately for me, it was just around the time where we were celebrating our first wedding anniversary. So I decided to give that as a surprise to my husband on our wedding anniversary. So I waited till I was 7 weeks gone before I gave him the news. So I packaged a little gift, and then I added the pregnancy test to it, and I told him we were expecting our first child. Initially he was but then later he opened up and he was excited about it. So the journey started, of course, with the morning sickness and all. Fortunately, it wasn't that much, so it was okay. The first 3 months wasn't really that difficult for me, but things were, the normal sickness. And so we got to the 6th month. It was looking good, and the doctor had promised that, the way things are going, there's a very huge possibility that I would have a normal delivery. I don't need to go for any kind of. And then we got to the 37th week, and I remember I went to pee, and I had more discharge. When I wiped, I realized that I had more discharge, and I was wondering what that was, but I didn't think it was anything, because I had read that when you're almost due, you have more discharge. I didn't actually know that I had lost my plug and labor had already set in. So Saturday of that same week, I wasn't feeling comfortable, and I was like, my tummy was just hurting, and I was wondering why it was hurting. I told my husband about it, and he was ready to actually take me to the hospital that day, but I said no, let's wait till the following day, which is Sunday, and it was my 37th week appointment. So we got to the hospital Sunday morning after a very, very difficult night. We got to the hospital, and the doctor asked if I had experienced anything funny during the week. I said, oh yeah, I think I remember I had some discharge that was more than I used to see. I was like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you inform me that you had seen some? I said, I didn't think it was anything serious. Since I will be coming here today, I just thought to wait till I come. And I was like, oh no, lie down, let me check you, lie down, let me check you. And in the process of checking, he said, oh, okay, thankfully the baby still has a lot of fluid around her, so things are still going on well. But you are in labor, so I'll just induce you and let's see what happens. So your husband should go back home and get your baby things and come. So he induced me, the first one. Induction didn't work. It lasted for like 4 hours, 5 hours. Nothing happened. And then the second induction came. The second induction too was kind of slow. We got to the end of the day and nothing was happening. But I was having all of the contractions, the pain. It was excruciating. It was a fact. But then nothing was happening. When they tried to check how many cm. It wasn't even progressing. It was always 1 cm or 1.5, 1 cm, 1. There was a time we got to 3 cm. And then all of a sudden we went back to 1 cm again. And I was wondering what was going on. Why are we going back and forth? Till like 11:30 p.m. A journey that started from 6 a.m. 11:30 p.m. Nothing happened. And I was tired. I was stressed out. We were two in the ward. The other woman, I started, my contractions had started before hers. And by 7 p.m., she had her baby lying beside her, and I was still in labor. I was just crying, asking myself, why? Or is it something I did wrong? If at the point I was blaming myself, maybe if I had called the doctor as at Wednesday, maybe I would have had my baby. Or was it a false alarm? A lot of things were just going through my mind. And then around 12, one of the nurses came and said she brought an injection and said she was going to inject me with it. And I asked her, I remember asking her, what is that for? She said, oh, it's actually to speed up the contractions and make me contract more. I said, okay, fine. I allowed her to inject me. Apparently, that injection was actually for me to sleep. I slept from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. whilst contracting. I was not conscious, but I could remember the pains. There are times I would feel so much pain and then I would cry out, but I just couldn't open my eyes. It lasted till 6 a.m. And then 6 a.m. I woke up and I was like, what just happened? Did I just sleep for that long whilst contracting? What's going on? And no one was around me. The nurses were not there. Then that particular nurse who had injected me had gone to sleep. I was like, God, why? What's going on? I can't be here another day again and nothing is happening. And then my doctor came in, expecting to see that I had put to bed. And he was like, you're still here. What is going on? Why are you still here? I said, I don't know. I just woke up. Like, you woke up? You slept? I said, yes, I slept. Why? Why did you sleep? Lie down, let me check you. And then he checked again. Apparently, all through the day, because the baby was ready to come out and then nothing was actually happening to aid the baby coming out, the baby had actually turned. And in the process of, in fact, there was a time I actually saw and felt that the baby turned. Because when they asked me to lie down and he was going to check, being a male, the pain was not here at all. For a man trying to check your cervix and all, I remember kicking him so hard that he screamed, Madam, please don't break my ribs. I was like, I'm in pain. There was a time I saw the baby lifting her head out of my side like this. That was where I suspected that something had happened. And they were trying to check for the baby's heart rate. And they weren't getting it. And they didn't want to scare me. The next thing I heard was the doctor telling my husband that, Mr. Kwao, I am not going to allow you to dispute this. I am taking her to the theater this minute. All I need you to do is just sign the papers. And I was like, what is going on? And then one of the nurses came and said, oh, we were taking you to the theater. I'm like, no way, I'm not going. I didn't plan to have a CS. I am here to have a normal delivery and then go back home this very day. I am not having a CS. He said, no, at this point, you can't run away from it. You have to. I said, no. I called the doctor. I said, no, I am not doing this CS. I am not. This is not what I planned. I am here to just have my baby push. Say push and I push and then I go home. I am not having this CS. They tried calming me down. They tried saying, they tried convincing me. I said, no, I will not. And then my husband came to me and whispered to me and said, at this point, it's not about you again. It's about the baby and your safety. So please put that into consideration and allow them. I said, okay, I agreed to it. Then they said they brought wheelchairs, said they were wheeling me to the theater. I said, I don't need it. I'll walk. I don't want to sit in a wheelchair. I don't want you to see me as an handicap. I am here to have my baby as a strong one. So I will walk to the theater. Unfortunately for me, whilst walking to the theater, I started having contractions, serious contractions. But then I managed to get to the theater. Then, just within a few minutes, the baby was out. When I saw my baby for the first time, I couldn't hold back my tears. I just started crying. All I could say was, thank you, Jesus. Because I felt relieved. I felt, okay, so all of these struggles from like 3 days, at least it was worth it. Even though the delivery I prayed for wasn't what I got, but she was worth it. Unfortunately, she had to be put on oxygen because she was stressed. And in the process of turning, the cord had gone round her neck twice. So when they took her out, the doctor was like, if I had allowed you to push this baby out, you would have killed this baby. Thankfully, she was fine. By the following day, she was off oxygen and she was doing very well. Going home, we left the hospital 5 days later. On getting home, because it was a new experience for me, having to latch on the breast, it was a difficult thing. But then it took us like 5-6 days before we were actually able to put her to breast. Fortunately, she latched on well. And then as for help, my mom fortunately was around to help me. She was there with me, and then my in-laws came in as well for a period of days. But because it was a CS, the pain wasn't here at all. So I kind of used that as an excuse to not want to do things around the house. And thankfully, my husband was there to support me. So there are things I don't just do. All I do is get up, feed the baby, go back to bed, get up, feed the baby, go back to bed and eat. That was all I was doing because I had help around. So it wasn't easy at all. I remember with my first child, depression started as early as 5 weeks because I began to blame myself for every of the experience, why I had the CS, why I didn't push the baby myself. I should have been able to. Other women go there and they have their babies and go back home that same day. But I went there and spent more than 4 days. Why was it so? I felt less of myself. And then the whole issue of having a new baby around, having to breastfeed the baby with nipples sore and all of that, the whole thing just added up to the depression for me. And before I knew it, I developed high BP, which actually took me back to the hospital again. And I was placed on BP drugs for 30 days. The BP drugs, they weren't doing it for me. It was headache on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, I had to sit back and try to think things through. And I spoke to my husband about it and he encouraged me, and I just prayed about it and decided to snap out of it. By the 10th, 12th week, I was doing very well. Even though depression came back again when I had the second one. But then, because I've had it before and I knew how I actually went through it, I was able to snap out of it very early. Even though I spoke to my doctor about it, I told him that, this thing is setting back again. And he just told me to take my mind off some things. And I should try and relax. Because now I have 2 children. I have a toddler, I have a new baby. I need to attend to both of them. I didn't really get enough help this time around. It wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy, even though my husband was my strength. He was my rock. He did almost everything for me. But there are some things he couldn't do in terms of taking care of the baby. I had to bath the baby myself. We left the hospital and we went to his family to stay for a while, but we couldn't stay there for long. We were there for just 2 weeks and we had to come back home, and then reality set in. Now look, you've been cuddled for too long. This is now time for you to handle things on your own. And it wasn't easy. That was where the depression started again, because now I have a toddler, I have a new baby. How would I manage it? There are times I go by the day and then by 4 p.m. I'm already stressed. And I can't afford to say I'm tired and I'm going to rest, because there's a baby to take care of. There's a business to run as well. Thankfully, I didn't have to go for any form of BP treatment. My BP was fine. I made sure that I don't have any issues with that. Okay, so thankfully there hasn't been any form of rivalry. Initially I thought it wouldn't be easy having to introduce the new baby to my toddler. She just clocked 2 when the new baby arrived, and I thought it wouldn't be that easy. So my husband brought her to the hospital and introduced the new baby to her. Initially she was like, what is going on? Who is this? But before we knew it, she was already saying baby, baby, baby. Because when I was pregnant, she was always pointing to my tummy to say baby, baby, baby. So when my husband said, oh, this is baby, then I think she realized that, oh, okay, so the baby that was in the tummy is now here. She said baby, baby. In fact, that actually made her start calling me mommy. My daughter never called me mommy until her sister arrived. After she said mommy, like in the next few days, 2-3 days later, she started saying mommy. So she'll point to the baby and say baby. She'll point to me and say mommy. And then that was it. Before I knew it, she wakes up in the morning, she goes to where the baby is and plants a kiss on her forehead and comes to me and say mommy, baby. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we are doing well. So there hasn't been any rivalry whatsoever. She's been very, very good to her. She goes around, play, and then come back and realize, oh, she has a sister. Maybe she's watching her toys on or trying to play with her toys. She remember, oh, she has a baby, and then she'll bring one for the baby as well. Fortunately, the baby can't hold the toy, but they've been doing very well, and I'm so, so grateful that I'm actually able to handle both of them without any form of, oh no, this is mine, no, this is baby. Even though she tries to want to take some things from the baby. For example, maybe the baby, a teething toy for the baby, she wants to take it for herself. And then I try to let her know that, no, look, you've gone past this level. This is now for baby. It's no more for you. So we've been doing very well. We've been doing very, very well. Work. Okay, so when I found out I was pregnant with a second baby, I had just started my business, and it was difficult at first, but I was willing to actually go and do it. Unfortunately, the pandemic started, and so everything had to be put on hold. And then, even though I was still trying to let people know about my business underground, even though the pandemic was on, I used to have 1 or 2 orders. But then after I had a baby, that was when it was like the whole business thing just got to the ears of people, and then I started getting orders. Now I have a new baby, I have a toddler and a business. I tried so hard. Like I said, I didn't have help this time around, but my husband has been there for me. I just beg him to take care of the toddler for me, and then I put the baby on my back, and then I do what I have to do. There are times that it would just be so difficult, I wouldn't be able to do things, but then I try so hard If it means depriving myself of some sleep, I try to do that so that I can meet the others of people and then take care of the baby as well. There are days where my husband will have to go to work and I have to meet people's order. I try to put my toddler in a comfortable environment, give her toys to play with or a program to watch, and then I put the baby in a soothing environment as well. And then I get to work. When I'm done, I try to attend to both of them. So it's been I wouldn't say it's difficult. I wouldn't say it's easy. But we've been able to at least find our way around it and work with it. The joys of motherhood, I don't know how to actually express it. It's an overwhelming feeling, especially from the very first day you set your eyes on the new child. So what goes through your mind is, so I actually created this, like I grew this child inside of me. And when you watch the child grow daily, new changes, the child moves from sitting down to crawling to standing to walking to talking. It's amazing. It's amazing. There are days I sit back and I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm also a mother now. And not just a mother to one, but to two. Wow. Wow, it's amazing. It's indescribable. It's indescribable. There's this joy that fills you when your child wakes up in the morning and looks in your face and smiles. You feel like, oh, like you feel like a goddess. Like, oh yes, this is just an amazing thing. So it's a thing of joy. It's a thing of joy bringing a child to this world. It's a thing of joy. It's something that when you get to experience it, I just don't know the words to use to express it, but it's a thing of joy. It's a thing of joy. The motherhood is, there are times it's not easy, especially handling a toddler. It's not easy at all. You will shout and shout and shout. And then they say, oh, don't beat the child. When you beat the child, you tend to worry the child's mindset and all of that. You feel like you should, but then you are drawn back, and then you try to talk to the child, but still, they look at you and they're like, what is she saying? It's not easy, but there are times that they do things. My toddler, for example, when you try to tell her that, no, don't touch this thing, she will look at you and she'll be like, maybe when I touch it, something will happen. So she'll still go ahead and want to try touching that thing until she touches it and something happens before she lets go. So they want to experiment on things on a daily basis, and you can't always be there watching over them. But I thank God for God who has given us strength to actually handle these children. It can only be God. It can only be God. I would say I was, because fine, every woman's dream is to actually have a child and train the child to a level. So I remember back then in school, we go about, especially when we do the reproductive and all of that. The girl child would sit back and start imagining how the whole process would be like, having to get pregnant and birth a child. But when it actually happens, it's a whole different game altogether. So I would say I surprised myself with the way I was handling, because there are things that I wouldn't even think necessary. There are things that I wouldn't even look at on a normal day. But now that I'm a mother, I try to make sure that nothing passes by. I try to see, okay, this child, what is she doing? What is there anything harmful around the child? I am much more careful than I used to be. The normal me before would just go about, I can kick something, I don't care. But right now, because I'm a mother, I try to make sure that things that are around the house aren't harmful to the child. And we've been doing well.
This video was brought to you by Echo D Super Baby Diaper and Wet Wipes made with bamboo.